Well, I was always creative. As a child, I was extremely creative. Didn't have lessons at that time, but there were paper dolls and drawings and all sorts of things. And then as I became older, I ended up at the University of Southern California and studied art and drawing there. And then after graduating from there, went on to raise children and wanted to be creative again, and so I got in touch with the Los Angeles County Art Museum, and they were able to get me the name of a very fine teacher. Being a traditionalist, it was hard for me to loosen up and paint the way I thought, and so she had me put canvases down and throw paint and take newspapers and block them, and that loosened me up. I did study with Kwok Wei Lau, who's internationally known, and loved his work, and he loved mine, so we had a great relationship. Then from there, I did the Laguna Beach Art Festival for 15 years, which, and I did a lot of portraitures and a lot of children at that time, paintings, all on my own. I learned commercialism, which I had never thought about, selling my work, reproducing it into artist proofs. I had some reps pick me up that represented my work up and down the coast. From there I went to New York. My work went to New York and was represented in several galleries and gift areas, and that was very successful. I went in with great expectations, and I was quite disappointed actually, because it was so rigid, and I wanted to flow and be easy with my thoughts and with my artwork. Like it, you had to do certain things. That's the way people were painting then. That's how the teachers were teaching. Actually, that's kind of what life was at that time. We were all kind of told what to do. Our parents told us, and we did it, and that sort of thing. And even as grown-ups, we were rigid and inhibited and didn't allow ourselves to really freely do our artwork. So at least I couldn't do the things I wanted to do. I mean, it was drawing, that was it. Painting, that was it. Watercolors mostly, which I was not particularly crazy about. I preferred oils. And of course, acrylics hadn't come along yet. That was going to be exciting as painting materials and paints, as the time went by, got more easy to work with and more fun. And it wasn't until, oh gosh, I'm not sure when it was, that the whole mood changed and things became easier to do. I had lots of support from everyone around me. My husband's a traditionalist, I am not, so that was a little difficult there. But I kind of went along with things, and every now and then I'd kind of pop in something that was a little different to see kind of what kind of a reaction I'd get to it. And some people didn't like it, and some people did it, as art is anyway. And then finally, after a period of time, I was able to take off by myself, feel comfortable enough to experiment and do all the things I wanted to do with art. Well, the most motivation I really got was working with other artists. The Laguna Festival was probably, Laguna Beach Art Festival, was one of the most interesting things. My whole life changed. I was with people that understood me. We talked the same language. And it led me into the commercial side of art, which I had never thought of. So I was introduced to a lot of new things and a lot of new artists with different ideas, and I was accepted. And so it was a wonderful experience for me. That really, truly changed my way of thinking art-wise. Art is a thinking process. It's a creative process, but it's also a mental process. I find when I work on a piece, my mind is going like crazy, and I'm thinking of, what if I did this? What if I did that? What if I threw this in? What if I took that out? So it's a wonderful give and take sort of thing that I'm doing now. Starting with my early work led me to, I was surrounded by children, and so that of course influenced me to do portraitures. Then as I went to the festival and lived in the beach, I think living in different areas has definitely influenced me. At the beach, there were seashells, and there was the ocean that influenced me. Then we moved to the desert, where I'm presently. And I was influenced by the Indian, and I did all sorts of Indian themes at that time. Then my son moved to Italy, and then I traveled to Italy, and there the world opened to me again, and I did Italian landscapes, which I never thought I would do. But at all the charming villages and the charming people, and it all led me into a whole series of that, which the Princess Cruise Ship Line picked up and put on board their ships, and I was with them for 5 years. Now I'm in another new phase as my children are gone, and it's just my husband and I am putting things together that I have collected over the years, and I'm always looking for things when I'm out and about. Beads, different kinds of woods. I'm bringing my old seashells back into the piece again, and I'm collecting. Perhaps I'm feeling my life as I'm putting my life out there in front of me for people to see, and I find that very exciting. It's very contemporary, and I like that. I'm going through my different phases of life, and I'm trying to express myself how I feel at that time and what is going on with me emotionally at that time. So you're seeing who I am, what I was all about at different phases of my life, and who I am now. In 1971, my youngest little girl was killed by an automobile not too far from our home. It was a kid, an 18-year-old kid, and he was going to school with my daughters at the same time, and he came down for me to forgive him. And it was a very difficult thing for me to forgive this young man, but I felt he had his whole life before him. I could have destroyed him, but I couldn't do that. So I took his hands in mine, and I told him, I said, Katie has given you her life. You've taken her life. Now you have to do something with your life. And I said, I don't know what your life has been all about, but I said, you were speeding, you killed her. Now do something positive with your life. And from what I understand, he decided to get out of drugs, stop drinking alcohol, and whatever else he was doing at that time. And I don't know what's happened to him. I think he married and had children. That was a terrible experience for him, and it was a terrible experience for me. And the only thing, one interesting thing that happened several weeks before I was painting, and an angel kept coming out of the painting, and I couldn't understand what that was all about. And it was a black angel, which scared me terribly, and I finally put the painting away. So it was about 2 weeks after that. So this had to be some sort of a premonition, which I wouldn't accept. Of course, you don't accept death, any of us. But my art was the one thing that got me through this period of my life. It was the only thing that I could hang on to at that time, and I painted continuously, and it was children, just constantly painting children until I settled down and everything. I could handle this whole thing. You don't handle it, but I could get through this period of my life. So that was another time that my art was so important to me that it became a part of me and allowed me to get back on some kind of a substantial basis again. Anything that is on out of my control, I handle it through my artwork. That gets me through whatever's going on at that time. And sometimes it comes out in my work. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I'm led to another phase again. So yes, that's how I've handled a lot of things in my life.